I think part of the fear-based narrative, Garrett, is because we are constantly hearing about things that sound scary, right? I opened this conversation up with a quick anecdote of how the Canada Revenue Agency was hacked. We know this year Garmin has been hacked, Equifax has been hacked, banks are being hacked. This is happening all the time. I mean, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they had their Twitter hacked, right? Should people be worried when Twitter gets hacked?
Well, I would say is that you hear about some major hacks 4 times a year, and they for some reason they time at the 3rd month of the quarter, right before they've got to close the companies need to close their quotas.
Oh,
you hear about all these crazy hacks. Anyway,
we're gonna see some firewalls now.
Q1, Q2 is a fun time too.
But in all seriousness, if Garmin gets hacked,
sure.
do I need to care?
You know, you might lose your footsteps or whatever through Garmin, but the average individual doesn't need to care about social media accounts necessarily. What they need to care about are again, to kind of bring up a previous point, what are you applying your authentication and credentials to besides that? The average individual is not going to choose a new username and password for the 50 plus accounts they may have, you know, to pay your bills, to access social media, et cetera, et cetera. It's that shift in focus that really is now what hackers are looking for. I would say back in the day, people used to challenge themselves, hackers, going like, I'm going to try and break into this account just to see if I can do it. And again, now they're not necessarily caring that they are getting into your Twitter account to see if they can do it. They want to get into your bank account. And because an individual will largely sort of have a mental process going, this is my bank account, I need to be very careful with this stuff. They just don't have that same sort of mindset with social media, video game accounts, that sort of stuff. And again, hackers are exploiting the individual's sort of psychology and way of thinking outside of directly the technology. Again, I'm kind of a story example kind of person. There was a big nationwide auditor that their IT staff was directly targeted, not just employees, but their IT staff. These guys, they went on LinkedIn, they figured out who all the staff were and who had access to what sort of systems. And then they found these guys. They went on every social media and dating app in the area and were able to find them. So they ended up finding some of these guys on a dating app. They were able to, you know, say, hey, come have my pictures over here. And these IT guys who are the people who secure these networks and are on the lookout were so not used to being directly targeted in that manner that they didn't see it coming, and their system got taken over and by such a silly little thing, and it caused their company significant heartache and some long nights, I'm sure.
Well, I think the company had a headache. I think the IT staff had the heartache.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So let's go back to these scenarios that we're talking about here that Cam mentioned, and let's go to the opposite side. So when should I really care? I mean, when do these scenarios really matter to me?
The average individual is going to start seeing the repercussions of their actions because they put their lives more out online. An individual, so literally yesterday, there was a leak. Activision had a bunch of accounts leaked. Throw out a number, 500,000, whatever, a big chunk of accounts of theirs. And essentially, these folks, they had all the account credentials and were going in for accounts that did not have, again, to beat the drum, multi-factor authentication. If they just had a single password, they were going in, changing the account, and they essentially locked them out, where any of the users who had the multi-factor were on the fly and instantly able to deny their ability to get access, and their accounts are secure. And I think that's, you know, every single day we're seeing real world examples that it's, you know, adhering to our basics and then expanding upon that is really the way to go. I mean, you have to start getting the mindset of security in the individual into that mindset.
So really you're talking again, best practices, credential hygiene, maybe don't post your first car, your first love, your first school, and your middle name and the first street you lived on Facebook.
Right. Exactly.
In your honor, I shared that image yesterday.
I guess, and again, to kind of talk about more of an overall industrial viewpoint, for a long time, the average person even has sort of relied on a security concept, a security theory that we call security through obscurity. And that really means that the only real safety they have is that no one knows who they are. They're sort of anonymous. And with the advent of social media, with people getting out there, putting their business face out there, putting their personal lives out there, they're losing that very essential layer of security that they've always had, and they don't even know it. And so what we need to do is, again, sort of go back and we need to tell the user, like, look, you are a target, and while concerning, don't be afraid. We're here to watch you. What you need to do is just be cognizant that there are people out there who want to attack you. And if we see anything, we'll let you know. So that's usually, it comes down to mindset and being able to sort of mature our industry. What else we got?
That's a lot to think about, Garrett. I'm kind of chewing on it, but it really does seem like what you're doing right now is advocating that organizations kind of relook at their posture and make sure that at the very least these basics are squared away, right?
Absolutely. And I guess, and again, from the tech side, another sort of, it's got to come down to monitoring. The days of having 10 different systems, hoping they send you an email alert, they're gone. You cannot rely on that anymore. You will not see the holes that people will exploit. You need to realize that, great, we have spent a lot of money on training and time for these tools. Let's utilize them properly now. Let's make sure our IT staff they know all these different tools. Let's make them confident so that users and business and management can all kind of just, see that IT aura of confidence just going like, I got you, you're good, you're safe.
Well, it does sound to me that you're actually describing a people and process problem as opposed to like a technology and product problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's fair to say that like the latest stuff, if your business has got recent generation hardware and if you've got a decent server, decent service, firewall, whatever, that probably isn't the gap that you need to plug.
Absolutely. Again, a $500,000 firewall isn't going to fall down on the job to anything.
But that kind of raises a question, which is at what point should a business make that investment? And I'm only asking because when I consider the type of businesses that historically I've worked with, the SMBs in that $15 to $30 million range that are really just establishing and kind of scaling the business, it's not often that it's like, hey, let's have a frank conversation about information security. It's pretty rare, in fact. So I'm just curious, like, when does a business need to look at their hardware and their technology solution?
Really, I would say a focus on increasing or wanting to just upgrade technology is when you begin to see sort of a red flag forecast down the road, and again, a lot of companies got caught with their pants down come COVID because suddenly they had to, supply VPN ability and credentials to their entire company. And a lot of people didn't have the licenses, didn't have the hardware, didn't have the ability to sort of sustain that level of requirement from a network. And a lot of people then had to subsequently scramble to be able to keep their businesses running by keeping their employees connected to it.